I'll call the Londonderry Planning Board meeting to order for July 13th, 2011. Just want to point out for our audience, if we have an emergency, you need to evacuate, that this room has two exits to it. They're in the front, the back of the room, on the right-hand side of the audience. If we do need to evacuate, we ask you to proceed through the exit closest to you, go outside, and move away from the building. Don't come back into our firefighters have instructed everyone to do so. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise and pledge allegiance to the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we do have a quorum. I'll appoint Dana to vote for Chuck, and I want to point out that Chuck has tendered his resignation. He is moving to Exeter. He will no longer be a resident of Londonderry, therefore can't be a board member. That I think the info has gone to the town council, to Margot, to do advertising. I think this interests one person already for the open position on the planning board.
You want to handle the movement of officers now, Mr. Chairman?
We can do that. Laura's not here yet.
Yeah, you can still move her.
But it's up to the board.
Chuck was the secretary with his replacement. The logical thing would be for the board to move to have Lynn take over as the secretary, and then Laura, being the next most senior regular member, to recommend or to vote for her to be the new assistant secretary.
Okay,
Do you want a motion on that?
Yeah, since Laura's not here, I'll appoint Scott to vote for Laura till she arrives. Then we'll give her the news.
I'd like to make
Surprise.
a motion.
Yes, I'll take a motion.
Lynn be appointed secretary and Laura be appointed assistant secretary.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made by Mary, second by Dana. Any discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions? Chair is affirmative.
If I abstain, is there a quorum?
Yes, there is a quorum. Yeah, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 voting members, so
Actually,
we do have
abstention is a vote.
Right, you just
Yeah.
abstained.
so it'll be 6.
It would still count, even if it was 401. It would still.
Dana, Linda abstains, chair was affirmative, and motion carries. The vote is 601. Yes, she's voting. No, not yet, because actually have all the
Ex
positions filled.
officios are the only two absent members.
There's 3 ex officios, and there's no replacement for no alternates for them.
So it's a 6 vote, right?
No, it's still
601.
That's 6-0.
Or 5-0-1.
Yeah, correct.
Because
5-0 to
Oh,
1.
oh.
6 voting
5-0.
members.
Okay, I was adding.
The math is getting to him
I was
already.
doing my math here, and I came to the conclusion that it didn't add up to what I counted here, so you should always have a check on your math.
The next
Thank you, Mary.
The next thing the board should do is recommend one of the alternate members to fill the remaining term of Chuck's position.
Okay, our 3 alternates. Dana's been on as an alternate this term for probably about a year, but Dana has had 6 years previous experience with the planning board. It's up to the board to consider if that counts or not. Then Scott would be the next most senior, and Leith would be the least senior of our alternates. So it's up to how the board wants to proceed with selecting an alternate.
there's no precedent, right?
No.
You could pick anybody you want.
It's
No, I meant to having someone be on the board, then leave and then come back. There's no
It's irrelevant
precedent.
for purposes of the
Right.
decision you're making. It's whatever board member alternate that you choose.
Right.
My opinion is I think you would go with the most senior person,
Right.
you know, so,
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say, especially since we
Yeah,
have
I'm
so
fine
much
with that.
coming
Yeah.
forward that Dana has
Yeah,
some.
Dana's got, he's got the experience there.
Experience.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, I'm fine with that.
I agree.
And I believe Chuck's term, he was appointed the same. It's
No, I don't
either-
think it was expiring this year. I think
Is it
was
this year?
No,
Chuck is 12.
Yeah, Chuck is the end of 2012.
Year
Okay.
after.
Well, you know, we can figure, we can look at the website and find that out.
Yeah,
You could.
It's 2012.
Yeah, Lynn's got it up, so he's looked at it.
It's 2012.
So I would make a motion that we ask the council, we recommend to the council that Dana be appointed to the planning board as a full member.
Okay, I have a motion. Second by Lynn. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions?
Abstain.
Dana abstains, chair votes affirmative, and the vote is 5-0-1 to recommend Dana to the town council for appointment for Chuck's position. And Laura,
And here
Laura
she
is
is,
here.
yay.
So Scott's no longer voting. Laura,
Took him some business.
you are our new assistant
Congratulations.
secretary. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Next time you gotta get here just a little bit early.
They'll teach you to come late.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just started. I was making sure we had a quorum and what we had voting members and everything, and we made moved up the offices. So Chuck has resigned. Chuck is moving to Exeter, so the position's open. So Lynn is secretary, you're assistant secretary, and then Dana was recommended to the town council to fill Chuck's remainder of his term as a full member. That's where we are.
All right. Thank you for catching me up.
Okay, now, meetings divided into two parts. First part, administrative board work. We got our business done. The second part, this being the second Wednesday of the month, we have our public hearings, workshops, and conceptual discussions, of which we have 2 public hearings for rezonings. So we'll go to administrative board work, get that done, and first item there is plans to sign Market Basket amended site plan. And we did this a week ago.
No, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if you recall, last Wednesday, the 6th of July, there was a request from Demula Supermarkets for an amendment to the approved site plan to indicate outdoor storage of the areas on map 10, lot 54. Staff can report the conditions of approval have been met and recommend signature of the plan.
Okay, I'll take a motion to, for the chair and the secretary to sign the plans.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lynn, second by Dana. Any
I'll
discussion?
give it to Mary.
It doesn't matter.
You were louder. That was. Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, chair votes affirmative. And the Market Basket amended site plan will be signed at the conclusion of the meeting tonight. You gotta stick around, Lynn.
Yep.
Okay, now another
You'd
plan to
have been here either
sign.
way.
This is the Jeffrey Young site plan.
It is ready.
It is ready, okay.
Map,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
John.
members of the board, this was conditionally approved back on June 1st, 2011. It was a request of Jeffrey Young, map 16, lot 85, for a site plan for change of use residential to professional office and related improvements. Staff can report conditions of approval have been met and recommend signature of the plan.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Lynn, second by Dana for the signing of the Jeffrey Young site plan. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, chair votes affirmative. And the Jeffrey Young site plan will be signed at the conclusion of the meeting tonight. And next we have Mr. Steer Marketplace signage changes.
Mr.
And,
Chairman,
Tim,
members of the board, in your packet, you'll find a letter from Jen Robichaud from Barlow Signs. If you recall, the Mr. Steer Marketplace project was approved several years ago. At the time that was approved, our sign ordinance only allowed 50 square feet of wall signage in multi-tenant facilities, which could be split among individual tenants. At the time the plan was approved, the planning board allowed 25 square feet of signage for each individual sign on the property. Since that time, our ordinance has been redone for signage for multi-tenant facilities. We now allow 40 square feet per tenant in those types of situations. What happened in this particular instance is a new tenant, Barb's Beer Emporium, is located within the Mr. Steer Marketplace. Because the site plan at the time only allowed 25 square feet per wall sign, the Mr. Steer Marketplace was forced to remove the sign at the side elevation of the building in order to make sure that that complied with the site plan. What I have before you tonight is a request for the board to review the proposed signage change. Again, it does comply with our current zoning ordinance, and assuming that you are okay with the design, to allow the building inspector to issue the permits for the reinstallation of the sign at the side elevation of the building.
Any questions from the board?
I have no issues with it.
I just want to say that I appreciate that Mr. Steers took the sign down when they weren't in compliance, as so many businesses seem to find it no problem to stay out of compliance until the absolute last possible minute. So thank you for doing that.
Yes. Very good citizen.
So what I'm looking for is a consensus from the board that the proposal is okay, and that I can have Richard go ahead and issue the permits.
It looks good.
I'd say the consensus is,
Need a motion or anything, or just consensus?
Consensus is all I need.
I think it's fine and okay. It's all set.
I will let Richard know in the morning. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next we have Patricia Varani, 217 Rockingham Road, change of use discussion. This is a barber shop, so. Tim.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, you may recall a couple of months ago, John Weigler was in representing Mrs. Varani. This is the site on Rockingham Road that was the former Children's Museum, where Brown Limousine is currently under a temporary allowance to allow their parking of their limousines. They have apparently identified a potential tenant of a barber shop. Although the use is less requirements in terms of parking and our zoning requirements, it is still considered to be a change of use as a service use rather than retail or a professional office, which would be allowed without site plan. The request before you from John Varani and from Mr. Weigler tonight is for the board to consider allowing this change of use, again, without site plan approval if you deem it appropriate. Otherwise, the change of use would require a site plan. So that's the direction we're looking for tonight on this. And I know Mr. Weigler is here if you have any particular questions.
Board have any questions or comments on this?
The only concern I have is if you make an exception, I know we made the exception with the limousines, and they were parked on the outside, and there was just one office, right, being used inside?
Mm-hmm.
How far can we make an exception and not be called on the carpet in the future? I don't want to cause this woman to have to spend any additional funds. That's not why I'm asking the question. But I'm asking the question because if we set a precedent, we might be in trouble in the future. When somebody else wants to change their use and cites this as, you know, and takes us to court because we allowed it. So,
I would be more concerned if there were the need for any significant or any types of site changes and improvements to the site to accommodate the new use. In this case, where the actual parking requirements for this use are less than what is currently out there, I'm less concerned that you're setting a dangerous precedent in this type of case. Again, I think the board would be completely within their purview to make this a temporary extension similar to what you did with Brown Limousine and have it come in on a regular basis as you were proposing to do with Brown Limousine until such time that they have a tenant that would require the changes that would go through a full site plan approval.
You think we did a year on that?
You did a year, yes.
Make it a year, yeah, 'cause it shouldn't be permanent, that's for sure.
Is there anything the zoning board can do to give them?
It's an allowed
It'll-
use.
Yeah, I understand, but I mean, would it be better to go through the zoning board? Can they give something to where they don't have to come back every year on
It's
something
a
like
planning
this?
board requirement. It's the site
Okay.
plan regulations that are requiring the change of use, not the zoning ordinance.
It's already an allowed use.
Correct.
The problem being, Dana, is that the original plan was for the Children's Museum.
Right.
It specifically said, if there's any change in use, you're gonna come back to the board. So it was very specific on the,
So it's just saying if there's a change of use, you have to come back to the board for
site plan,
permission.
correct.
It's not saying
Okay.
you can't change
That's correct.
the use.
And- and-
Is that correct?
Yeah, and I guess that's to be the point. I mean, if there's a precedent you set, is that if there is a condition like that in the site plan, and we find that the use being proposed is less than the use that was initially granted, then at least the board can take that, and if somebody else tries to use it as it was, is less than the requirements that we initially approved, then if there's test, and it's an allowed use within that zone, then I think the board is within its right to.
Then, thank you
Take a look
for
at that.
clarifying that.
Yeah, 'cause I think it would be based upon this, and I think what staff has commented that would limit it. I mean, this is limited.
And they have completed an existing conditions survey of the property, so we do have an up-to-date plan that shows exactly what's out there today.
Okay.
And what is the alternative? Just a full-blown new site plan?
The alternative would be a site plan review, correct?
That doesn't.
It doesn't warrant it.
Doesn't warrant it, in my opinion.
Before we do
No, don't need anything.
So do you just need a consensus?
I need a
or do-
consensus from the board, and if you want to make it a temporary, you could basically tie it to the previous decision that you come back in for the June meeting next year for a relook at the issue.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
Mr.
we-
Chairman, I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, better do it as a motion.
If I could just ask, Mr. Watt.
Yes,
John, you
John.
intend to, is Brown Limousine gonna get out of the building completely and it's just gonna be the barber? Is that what the intent?
Yeah, John, just your name and address for our record, please.
John Wagner, 74 Page Road. Not currently, we're working on other tenants as well for the downstairs, but the barber shop expressed interest in the upstairs, so. At the present, we probably try and leave Brown's downstairs. And it's,
I feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, we'll do it as a motion and.
As long as it's on the table that we know that Brown's.
Brown is
gonna be-
staying.
Sure.
And there's still not going to be a parking issue there. There's still less than the required for the museum.
Correct.
Okay.
I think it said they have 22 spaces, and what's required, I think, or what needs to accommodate this is 5 to 7, so.
And based on the size of what we're talking about, the parking requirement is met still.
Well, how many parking spaces does the limousine company take up?
they probably take about 8 spaces.
So just 8, and then this would be
22
5
on
to
the site.
7, and there's 22, so.
We'll use up half of it.
yeah.
And just another question is, how many square feet will the barber shop take up?
Well, the upstairs, I think it's somewhere in the vicinity of like 1,800 square feet or so. Or I'm not positive, but I know it's a little under half. The building is around 4,400. So I know it's in the zone assessor's office, but it's less than the half.
Okay, so about 18,
1 per 300 for service establishment.
okay, so that's 6 spaces there, so, okay. I just want to make sure we can tie it to some amount, so if it, if it ends up being 2,500 and, and we agreed to 1,800, then at least we know that, we got some issues, and hopefully we won't, but I just want to make sure what the board's clear on what they're approving.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and allow the request outlined in the letter of July 7th, 2011 to the planning board.
Second.
And
Temporary to first meeting in June.
Temporary to
First planning board meeting in
June.
2012.
Second.
Okay, motion made, seconded by Mary. Any discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, show affirmative. Thank you. They're all set. The regional impact determinations. Manchester Regional Impact Project.
That's
Gas
the
station.
second part.
Okay.
You gotta do our regional impacts first.
Oh, okay. Now they're impacting us.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in your packet, you'll find a memo dated tonight. There are 2 projects which we need the regional impact determinations on. The first is a 2-lot subdivision of map 15, lot 110-5. This is a 2-lot subdivision on Leland Circle. Staff recommends that the project is not of regional impact, as it does not meet the regional impact guidelines from Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission. The second is site plan for map 15, lots 51 and 59. This is the Londonderry Land Development LLC project at Exit 5 in front of Vista Ridge. Proposed for 104,000 square feet of retail and 3 buildings, and a 7,138 square foot restaurant. Again, this project does not meet the regional impact guidelines developed by the Regional Planning Commission. We recommend it not be found of regional impact.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, motion by Mary on those 2 items of regional impact, second by Dana. Any discussion by the board?
Is that the one that was the McDonald's with the tight drive-through?
No, the McDonald's is a lot to the front of this. This is the project that had proposed the restaurant, the freestanding restaurant and multi-tenant commercial building.
Oh, Coastal
Is that last one?
Partners.
No, this goes back
Okay.
quite some
Last
time,
year.
almost a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, show it's affirmative. And those 2 items of regional impact are then noted. Okay, back to Okay, seeing, I guess now we deal with the Manchester Regional Impact Project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. In your packet, you'll find a letter from Pam Goucher, the Deputy Director of Planning and Zoning for the City of Manchester. Back in June, their planning board made a determination that the project I have up on the screen was determined to be of regional impact. This is a proposed motor vehicle gas station with convenience store, drive-through donut shop located on Brown Avenue, and what will be the relocation of Pettingill Road as part of the Airport Access Road project. They have asked that we submit any comments if the town has any, so that they can consider them as they go through their own site plan review. And I know that John and Andre probably have some comments they'd wish to pass forward to the board on that as well.
Okay, Andre?
Again, essentially, this is at the base of the new access road from the Manchester Boston the Manchester Airport Access Road project. At the intersection that is would be our connection with Pettingill Road. On the opposite side, there is an access way that goes down and connects onto Route 3A. On the corner of 3A and the Pettingill Road section would be the location of this proposed gas station convenience store. It's going to be solely in Manchester, and overall, I guess I don't have a big issue with the proposal. I do have a concern with regard to the dual access driveway off of the proposed Pettingill Road connection to Route 3A. It's going to be a wide road there. It's based on the plan. As you go down towards 3A, there's going to be a dual lane roadway built on the opposite direction towards the Manchester Airport Access Road. It's going to be one lane, but it's going to be wide. And just my concern is we have that having that a dual access, you're basically going to have people making left turns off of that, which may or may not be consistent with what DOT had in mind for that particular roadway. Again, Londonderry is not going to be that much affected because, again, whatever happens there, they'll come up to a lighted intersection at the Manchester Airport Access Road section and then make a determination where it's going to go from there up to the point where Pettingill Road is built. But that would be my only concern.
Pretty much what Andre says. I think our recommendation might be that the city consult with DOT on that curb cut onto the new Pettingill Road and its location so that they can get some feedback from DOT as well. Again, obviously DOT's studied that. It's constructed according, there's a long-term plan on how that arrangement is to be, how that roadway network is going to operate. So, like I say, I think we might want to make a recommendation to the city to consult with DOT on that location of that curb cut. Go ahead.
Okay. Any input from the board, or questions or comments? Okay, Chris.
Their aerial photo they submitted to us. Yeah.
So so that loop there is the reconfigured Pettingill Road?
This is the relocated Pettingill Road.
Okay.
Portion of Pettingill Road that would connect back to this is the airport access road, main trunk line here.
And they're putting in a rotary at the top there, or a lighted?
So what that site is doing, Chris, is they're putting in a curb cut right about here.
Yeah.
Our concern is,
to be able to turn left or right onto that road.
Correct.
Yeah.
So again, there has been some long-term plans, and even now, if you go out there, I believe there's a signalized intersection here now.
Yeah.
And again, the concern of Andres and I is, again, though, more than likely there's going to be dual lanes here, right turn, left turn, and then just one main line here. But again, the idea is what happens with cars queuing up and whatnot, and the impact of that curb cut to Pettingill Road.
Are they still proposing a rotary up at the intersection with the 3A and Pettingill?
Again, this is 3A here.
Sorry, the access road.
Again, this is access road.
That's not
the rotary. The rotary you're talking about is what's being constructed now at perimeter, and that's still going.
Okay, so that's going to be a lighted intersection then.
This one here, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that'll
as
be
well
right
as that one.
There was a couple of rotaries they were talking about putting in up there.
I don't know, should they put a divider or a barrier in there to keep traffic from crossing?
Yeah, there's a barrier, but it doesn't extend as far as where they're looking to do the dual access. If that was the case, it wouldn't be an issue. But the barrier you see down below there, that island right there is
yeah.
where the barrier is, but it does not extend that far. Although on Route 3A, there will be a barrier, at least it looks like there's being a proposed barrier there, so dual access there would be limited as well. I mean, they'll be able to get in and out of there via Brown Ave, but once they get onto 3A, then they have to turn right.
Are we really expecting there's gonna be that much traffic on Pettingill?
Not initially. My guess is that I believe that it's sized about 54.5 feet, and my guess is that I think they sized it in anticipation that in the future, if they have to go 4 lanes in both directions.
I'm gonna guess there's gonna be a lot of traffic coming off of the access road into there for the rental car returns, because that's the last gas station you're gonna hit, and if you're returning a rent a car. My company makes me do that.
Right before you get the...
The gas station, quick.
So,
where they try to capitalize on prices.
That's exactly why they're building it there.
I'm just trying to think that if they are coming in there to fill up before they return to the airport, okay,
I need to get back.
if there's a median all the way up there, I would assume most of the people are gonna be coming in this way or coming down Brown and going in. If there's a median up Brown, they're not gonna be able to get in. If there's a median up here, they really can't get in, or if they can't get in, they're not gonna be able to get back out to get to the airport. So that's gonna be a heavy impact, detrimental impact to whoever's putting the gas station in.
Again, it's a suggestion that, just to have them take a look at that, because I understand what you're saying, because without that dual access, you're limited to make that, if you're looking to go there before you hit the airport, it makes it difficult. You have to access the airport via Hazelden Ave, and you just keep on straight.
I fully understand the concern, but I'm trying to look at it from a business perspective also.
No, I understand that, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes that might get lost, but, we certainly can make suggestions.
Yeah, I mean, they'll take a look at it, and maybe they'll find that, no, this is perfectly fine, and
ultimately, the Manchester Planning Board can do whatever they want with the recommendations from the town. They're not obligated to follow any of them.
It seems as though it's the same situation we have here with the Hess, across the street from Home Depot, where you have people turning left into there and having to wait for those cars to go by. The same, problems. So, I think we can make a recommendation that they look at it, but that's basically all.
I mean, the worst case scenario, they put a center turn lane there, or at least you have an island there that you can sit until there's an opening and not block traffic coming up and down there, then maybe that's the alternative. But right now, I just didn't see that, And at least it's hard to tell from this plan, I should say.
Well, that makes sense. That's a good recommendation, to look at it and maybe consider something like that.
Anything else? Maybe you can put it all, what we had said and you said, into a nice, friendly, kind letter to the
Absolutely.
Manchester Planning Board. And
our colleagues we got to work together here, so we're all right.
We'll see what they do. Tell us something anyway. Okay, get back to here. Okay, discussion of the town staff. Andre.
Real quickly, at the under other business, I think I indicated to the board that I was going to share with you my trip down to Mashpee Commons that I took back in April of this year. So I got a brief overview at the end of the under other business of the meeting, just to share with you what was shared with me from the town planner down there, as well as pictures I took of the Mashpee Commons. And the other two items, one which was mentioned earlier when Mr. Steer was in, the Barb's Beer Emporium has taken one of the units, which is formerly next to a building that was formerly a wine studio, and they now occupy a unit in there. I am extremely delighted that they've come down from Concord.
As a regular customer of Barb's Beer Emporium in Concord, great business.
It's fantastic.
So I've been in there, and they got quite a selection.
They have quite a selection now. So if
Beer
you
lover's
like
paradise.
a nice beverage, they have a variety of beverages there. And not that this is a trend in my economic development efforts, but I also had a chance to meet the owner of Moonlight Meadery off of Londonderry Road, which makes honey-based wine. And I don't know if you saw the article in the newspaper about them, and they're beginning quite a lot of buzz with regard to what they do, and so I paid them a visit, and hopefully that's a business that we want to keep in Londonderry, because they seem to be growing very fast.
Yeah, they've been featured in LondonderryNH.net also.
Yeah,
I think there was actually a Chronicle article, a Chronicle segment.
yeah, Chronicle segment as well on Channel 9. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that.
So, Mr. Fairbrother's is doing very well over there. And again, he's a Londonderry resident that started out in this garage. I believe the ZBA granted a home occupation there. And in recognition of a good business in Londonderry, and now he's gotten to a point he needed to have more space, and he received more space off of Londonderry Road, and actually he's expanded into a unit next door, so business is going well for him. And again, that's the kind of business that you want to keep in Londonderry. So.
Definitely. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, John, anything?
Yeah, just a quick reminder again that we're going to be closing down South Road from the 18th of August to the 18th of July through the 12th of August. And again, signage has been up, been notified, and detour signs will be posted.
You have to keep it closed for that long?
Yep. Again, initially we had talked 2 weeks, but again, in order for it to be a safe construction and whatnot, again, it would take 2 weeks to initially replace the culvert. But and again, for worker safety, the traveling public, working quality of the work, it's much better if we can shut it down for a four-week period and get it done.
And you'll have detour signs up?
Absolutely. Yep. That's all I have.
Yep. The more we can talk about it, the better, because people will be informed and not surprised.
And there still will be some, but
yes,
do our best.
It's like a bell-shaped curve, you know. It's Okay, Tim.
A couple of quick things. Just a reminder, CIP deadline for submissions from boards, committees, and departments is upcoming next Friday, the 22nd. And also, the next Master Plan Steering Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, the 27th at the Cable Studio. So if you're in...
Okay, that's in the Cable Studio for the CIP.
So that's all I have.
Okay, the board, I had one important item, and that is our question and answers that we had planned on doing with Mary's cable TV show. Evidently Monday night, the planning board met with, not the planning board, but town council met with our town attorney. And we got a strongly worded recommendation that said, basically, don't do it. And probably I'll read what Dave Karen had sent out earlier today, is that members of the town council and planning board opted not to participate in a broadcast on Woodmont on the advice of legal counsel. The town attorney strongly recommended that any discussions on an application currently before the planning board be conducted during formal proceedings. The town staff is currently working on a Q&A regarding Woodmont, which will be posted on the town website in the near future in an effort to answer factual questions posed during the informal review process before the planning board. And when Dave says Q&A, those are the Jack Felby questions that Jack has submitted and that Tim has compiled, I think as of June 8th. In that meeting, we, on Joe Green's recommendation, and Mary had already done the basic work on getting it going, was to do this on television. So at this point, we will at least get it up on the website, answers to those questions.
At least the ones that the town can answer.
Yes, on the town side, the developer's going to have to answer the developer questions.
So, because, this decision was made, and it was made at such a late time. I mean, I only found out 2:30 yesterday afternoon that they would appreciate if we did not hold the show. I did tape something today that just simply explained that, and also encourages people to go to both the Woodmont website and to Town Update and to LondonderryNH.net and to our website, our town website, because we all have tons of information about Woodmont Commons. Many of the questions that are directed towards the developer can't be answered at this time because we don't have a formal application of a master plan before us. And some of them are site plan specific, and so you can't answer those questions until you have a site plan. But I do think it's valid to say we can't answer those questions at this time, and to put that on the website after these questions, and explain when they can be answered. But I would love for the planning board to take a moment and look through the questions and just answer the ones that are planning board specific, which say things like, have you read all of the questions that are on this 38 page PowerPoint? That's one of the questions. And I, as one planning board member, can say yes, but I don't know about all of you. Another question.
I've got a pile of everything from Jack from
Right.
time zero.
Another question asks if we attended every single Woodmont Orchard or Woodmont Commons, those original charrettes.
The charrette
Well,
deck,
no, because if we all attended at the same time, it would have been a planning board meeting, and so we can't do that, right?
Right. We can't have a,
Some of us
quorum here.
attended some of us attended others. They were all taped, and certainly I'm sure you've taken the time to watch them. And so, no, we can't.
Right,
you know?
right. And I know that board members also attended the Thursday evening and Saturday morning meetings.
But not at the same time.
Right.
And some of us attended some, and some of us attended others. So that we are keeping abreast of what they are doing, but not to the detriment of what we are trying to do here as a planning board.
I do want to thank Jack Felvey very much for at least providing a forum to get these questions in. And this was really during our conceptual discussion phase, which is informal. Conceptual discussions, there's actually nothing that's binding, there's nothing that's legal about it, other than it's a forum just to get ideas, and really the intent by statute is an exchange of ideas. We're at the point now, we're going into the formal phase. The expectation is that we'll be submitting a formal application for a site plan for that. And one of the attorneys...
Not site plan.
Master plan, pardon me, master plan. I'm looking down here on the site plans, but pardon me. They have to, by our own ordinance, have to submit a master plan. And once they submit the master plan, that starts a formal process, which is actually very similar to a site review. We get a 65-day window in which to render a decision unless they would like to extend it further, but that's their prerogative. But as we get into the more formal stage, and I know during the conceptual part, we had to be very careful not to, express opinions and so forth, because we sit here as a quasi-judicial body and have to render opinion on it. If we come into the, the process of being tainted or, looking at one way or the other, that person can be asked to be recused. So it kind of defeats the purpose. So therefore, we have been in listening mode and taking everything in. There's a lot of, just a moment, Chris, a lot of information that is there. But as we get into the formal process, I would ask Jack to send anything that comes to him to Andre, because we need names, addresses, and everything else that is part of it. So all the questions, comments, concerns will go to Andre, or they can be answered at the planning board meetings wherein Woodmont is present for discussions on their master plan. It has to be a formal process. It has to be both parties present if you're going to discuss anything on a project. So as we get in the formal phase, I'll send Jack an email about this also, that information would have to go to Andre or directly to the planning board in a formal meeting. And that individual would be asked to come and state name and address and so forth. And,
So in that case, the emails would no longer be allowed to be anonymous?
right, they would have to, they would have to
You
have.
can still have emails as long as they identify who's the name and address.
Right, right.
But and once you're in the formal, you do need that for the minutes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, we've had it, they're anonymous, I mean, it's good to get them and everything. I know Joe Green has voiced his concerns to me about that, and also other council members, so. We get in the formal process, it is formal, and people have to express their opinions here when we have hearings on it and so forth, and they certainly can express their opinions and questions through Andre, which will get to us also.
Right now, the earliest expectation we would have to see a formal application in front of the board would be September. It would be either September or October, appears to be the target date that they're looking at for getting the formal application to the board.
Yeah, staff has been meeting with the applicant's attorney, just to make sure that, as we do any other developer, make sure that we answer those questions about what they need in order to submit for a formal application. So we've been working with them to help them get their application in the right order, and therefore, Tim's right, they expressed to us that they're looking at a September, October submission time.
Chris?
I understand Mary was talking about the questions that the town or the planning board can answer on the list of questions that Jack had posed. Would ask that we, since we're still in the conceptual until they do drop a formal proposal in front of us, that we ask of the developer if they're comfortable to answer those questions, and we should have a response on that, whether they've responded or wish to, defer that until the formal process starts. But I think we should address those ones as well, as part of what we put out by the town, is to approach the developer and say, these questions are only ones that you can answer. Do you want to answer? And we can put in their answer, or yes, they decline to respond at this point. And that should be on the site as well.
So if I heard you right, just say,
I know there were some questions in the list that were
in the list for
they weren't to us, they were to the developer.
Yeah. And so make sure that they get
30 of
those.
the 38 pages are to the developer. So.
Yes, that's where the
Vast majority of the
bulk is.
questions are directed to the developer.
All right. But yeah, our intent was to obviously get those to them and say, boy, it'd be great if you guys can answer these questions, because we cannot, these are
Okay, but
specific
to
questions.
say, it would be great if you guys can answer these questions.
Yeah.
The questions have been there since April.
Yeah. I think it's a response, yes or no.
Right.
And, if you've got a response, then we'll include that in the official draft.
Yeah, if you respond to this, could you just include us?
I understand if they don't want to respond, but that needs to be an official part, I think.
Yeah, but I think it would be in their best interest to respond.
Oh, yeah. But that would be entirely within their decision, entirely their decision to do so or not to do so.
Okay, anything else from the board?
Just one question, Mr. Chairman, in terms of the questions in Mary's request that the planning board members answer the questions directed to the planning board, is that something we want to proceed with doing? I don't have any problem doing it, but do we want to proceed with doing that as a board?
We probably have to have all parties present on doing it. We'd have to have the developer here also. And I probably would do, if you want to do it that way, I would wait till they probably come in with a formal presentation and everything.
No, these are the questions directed to the planning board.
Yeah, but they do relate to the
Okay.
project, so, yeah, to be fair, you really have to have both, all parties present.
It's not really a good practice to have individual responses from each planning board member come in. Those are the types of questions that really should be answered by the board as a whole.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we understand what we're going to do with that, so. I'm still, so right now, the plan is for the individual board members to do nothing in terms of answering those questions.
Right, this is it's, because it refers to as planning board.
Yep.
I think that one-
Staff will answer those questions that are able to be answered at our level, and those that are not will be basically stated in that, say, that the planning board will need to answer these at a future session as a group.
As a group. Yeah.
Because that's an answer.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I'm frustrated about mostly, is not seeing any kind of response at all.
Yeah, I would agree. Anything else?
So just for clarity, bear with me, the planning board as a group or as a group of individuals, we're not going to do anything at this point in time. We're going to wait for further direction.
Right,
Okay.
right, till we get the thing completed, so that
Yeah, once a
staff
formal
is working
submittal
on.
is
And if they
made,
have questions of the board, they can ask us, board
Yep.
members also, that we, as contributors to it, because we can be contributors to it. And as they see fit, they can ask, individual board members. It had to be individually, not as a quorum, by email, otherwise, quorum by email is a meeting.
Yes, understand.
Okay, other business, as Andre mentioned, we're gonna be, he's gonna be reviewing Mashpee Commons with us, so don't forget that. Okay, with nothing else coming from the board, we'll proceed with our two public hearings. The first one is L-Town Garage LLC on behalf of Crowning Holdings Incorporated. This is a rezoning of tax map 15, lots 183 and 184, from commercial 1 to commercial 2.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in your packet, you'll find a memo dated tonight from myself regarding this particular application. You'll also find the pictometry aerial photos and the application itself that was submitted by the applicant. The applicant is requesting the rezoning of the parcels 15, 183, and 184 from C1 to C2, as described on the maps presented in the memo. As was presented to the board conceptually on June 8th, the applicant is seeking to expand their automotive service business located on lot 185 to the adjacent parcels at some time in the future due to the limited size of the existing parcel. Because the existing lot where the business is located, lot 185, is zone C1, the existing facility itself is non-conforming. Staff recommends that the planning board also include lot 185 as part of this rezoning, making all three lots C2, which would make the business conforming to the zoning today, as well as when it's expanded in the future. All abutters to lot 185 have been properly notified as part of this application, so amending the request to include all three lots would not require any additional public hearing from the board. The 2004 master plan does not specifically call for the rezoning of this area. However, the proposed zoning is consistent with the existing land use patterns and surrounding zoning of primarily I-1 and C2. In summary, the rezoning is consistent with the master plan and the existing land uses and area zoning, and as such, staff recommends that the planning board recommend the rezoning from C1 to C2 to the town council with map 15, lot 185 if included, in addition to lots 183 and 184. Just one other note that's not in the memo, but I'd like to point out to the board and particularly to the applicant. The application itself states that for the short term, they're looking to provide off-site parking for the Friends of Music donated vehicles. Before any parking of those vehicles on the other lots that they are not currently occupying takes place, there will need to be a site plan approved to indicate those parking areas to account for pavement drainage and all the other associated things that we typically would look at in a site plan. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Any questions from the board? Are any abutters or any members of the public that have any questions, comments, concerns on this rezoning?
I think I would have a question. You represent them, don't you? I'm sorry, I don't know your first name. Mark. Mark, do you understand? Yeah, if you would. I'm just trying to help you out, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, just name and address for our records, please.
Mark Phillips, representing L-Town Garage, 3 Cold Pocket Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire, resident at 317 Winding Pond Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire.
Okay. Anything you want to add at all to this?
I just want to make sure,
Okay.
Mark, because again, Mark, when they had come in back in June, again, the way that I kind of took it, why you were asking to have it rezoned was because you were going to build a new facility, I'll call it, a new garage.
That's my long-term intention.
Okay, but again, just want to make you aware of it. In the application, it says, again, like Tim mentioned, it's for short-term to provide off-site parking for Friends of Music donated vehicles. Even before you start parking anything out there, you're going to have to go through the site plan process.
Of course.
Okay. Just making sure everybody was clear on that.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
anyone else?
thank you.
Andre?
Just a quick question. Have no problem with the addition of 185, as long as, did that go out in the notice to the abutters that way?
It was not on the notice to the abutters that way. However, all the abutters, including that lot, that would have been abutting to that lot, have been notified as part of this application because they're all abutting the lots that were proposed.
Okay.
So everybody who would be in a butter to lot 185 has already been notified as part of this
Okay,
application.
gotcha.
Which bit is 185 on?
That's the small lot right here,
The
where
one
the
on
existing
corner.
facility is
Oh,
located.
it's the existing facility?
Correct.
Oh, okay, all right.
If you look at, let me call up the actual
I
memo.
just want to make sure there was no additional abutters that.
No, I
Again.
made sure of that before I
Okay.
put the
Okay,
recommendation.
everything's covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
The existing facility is here on lot 185. The two lots we're talking about are 183 and 184. They're all zone C1. So currently, the operation is existing non-conforming. It doesn't
Yeah.
conform to today's zoning. So in order to make that conforming, that's why I recommended
C2 as
it
well,
be
yeah.
included as well.
Yep, that's one of the, always a sticking legal problem, is a non-conforming use. Usually
I'd hate to have
grandfathered.
have the other two lots rezoned and then end up with an expansion of a non-conforming use issue.
Okay, question. Do we need, as part of the motion or recommendation, a reference to needing a site plan before any off-site parking is done?
No. It's not any, as we mentioned last month when we were talking about rezoning, the town legal counsel has advised us that any rezoning is purely based on the merits of the application itself, irregardless of any plan or future
There's
action.
no,
that may
no
take
condition
place.
or anything on it, it's
Correct.
just, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
I just want to take, anyone else? Gentlemen, could you come down here to the microphone and name and address for our records, please?
Tom Dalton, 4 Hall Road. My only question is, parking for donated vehicles. I live in the very first house on Hall Road, so it's right around the corner from zoning. Where would and how many vehicles would we be looking to be parked, and where would they be parked in those parcels?
If we went through the site plan and everything else, it would be according to the plan as far as the town's regulations. And I'm not trying to be rude, right? I don't want to say one word and restrict myself at all what my intentions are, because the last time I did something like that, I got held to the cross on it. So I just want to leave it blank, but generally cars that show up there, right, go to auction, get liquidated, and they constantly move. So you're talking 100 cars, or you're talking 10 cars? If it was 100 cars, I'm raising more money than you care to imagine, and everybody would be happy, but...
I don't know if I'd be happy.
You wouldn't see it. You have a natural break between the two
Ultimately, before anything can actually take place on the lots, he'd have to go through site plan review, which you'd be notified as an abutter to that project.
Yeah, the site plan gets into the specifics that are there. This is just a
I just didn't
zoning
want to
change.
see 50 cars lined up on.
The site plan would probably have things like buffers and screening and stuff like
correct.
that we'd have to require.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Anyone else?
I hate to, oh, I'm sorry.
No, just a check with the public. Okay, I'll bring it back to the board now. So no further public comment unless someone rushes down here. Okay, Lynn.
I hate to open up a can of worms, but off-site parking for donated vehicles, at what point in time does parking of donated vehicles for liquidation become a junkyard?
You're assuming that they are junks in the first place, which they are not.
I'm assuming they're unregistered, and liquidation means, to me, getting rid of them in various ways.
Okay, the program that we're doing is, in lieu of going to a dealership and trading in your vehicle, which could be a 2009, for instance.
Yep.
Okay, this program will actually pay you for the vehicle. The proceeds that are raised will go to Friends of Music. You'll get a tax deduction. Friends of Music gets money. So is that a junk?
I don't know, I'm asking the question.
Well, wouldn't
That's
it
what I'm
be
trying to explain to you.
dismantling?
It's
More
not-
appropriate for the site plan as well than the rezoning at this point, I would suggest.
We're not looking for junk cars. If that's, we don't want to be the place at Goodwill that picks up your car with a tow truck. That's not the business that we're trying to achieve. Okay?
Anything else from the board?
I'm just curious, what's the
Yes.
structure on 184? The little white house looks like?
Yeah,
It's actually shown on our tax map as being a separate lot.
I believe that's a little terminal building for like Verizon or something.
Believe
at-
so.
at
Oh,
that market.
Yeah,
it's
Fair point.
I think it's a
Yeah,
garage
fair
door.
point.
I think
on it
it's
or
leased,
something.
actually, the
It's a
site.
switching station.
It's a lease lot within the lot itself.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we'll need a motion to recommend the change to
Chairman.
town council.
make a motion that we recommend the rezoning of lots 183 and 184 to be rezoned from C1 to C2
And 185?
and 185.
Okay, so there's three lots to be zoned to C2.
Second that?
Okay, motion by Dana, second by Lynn. Any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions shows affirmative. And this is a recommendation to the town council for the rezoning of 183, 184, 185, tax map 15, from commercial 1 to commercial 2. The town council will have two readings on it. First reading, they introduce it. The second reading is a public hearing on it also. And at that time, they will vote on the,
You'd probably be looking at a first reading in August and a public hearing in September.
yeah, that's probably the timeframe. They only meet once in August, I think 2 times in September.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate your time.
Okay, you're
Have
welcome.
a good night.
Okay, moving along here. Next is, we have another public hearing. This is for Robert and Judith Lynch. It's a rezoning of tax map 13, lot 96B, from AR1 to C2.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in your packets, you'll find the application, the review memo, and the pictometry aerial images. Again, this project was before you back on June 8th. The applicant is requesting a rezoning from AR1 to C2 for the parcel. As was presented to the board conceptually on June 8th, the applicant is seeking to expand his auto sales business on this parcel located primarily within the town of Derry, but with a small portion located within Londonderry. A site plan from 2006 has been approved by the town of Derry. The parcel is surrounded on all sides by industrial and commercial zoning, and the use is consistent with the surrounding land uses and zoning district. It appears that the portion of the lot within Londonderry, as well as some land across the street where the storage warehouses are located, was never given a zoning district at the time that the zoning was established in that area. And the default zoning assigned to these portions of the property in Londonderry was zoned AR1. The master plan does not specifically call for the rezoning of this area. However, the proposed zoning is consistent with the existing land use patterns and surrounding zoning. Again, in summary, the rezoning consistent with the master plan and surrounding area land uses and zoning. We'd recommend, the planning board recommend the rezoning from AR1 to C2 to the town council.
Okay, any questions from the board? This is that like little island surrounded by commercial.
It's the wedge. And if I may, as I mentioned in the memo, it appears we also have across the street where the storage buildings are located in Derry, there's a portion of that lot within Londonderry. And I think at that time, when zoning was established in this area, those portions weren't fully within Londonderry, so they were just given default AR1. But in this case, where there is an expansion proposed, again, it's consistent with the use, and this is probably one of the simpler rezoning requests I've seen in 11 years.
Yes.
You're not asking us to move the line, the town line, huh?
We're not asking to move a town line here, no.
That's next week.
It's an act of the legislature.
No new preambulations.
We're not.
I think there's a bound down there, I think on 28. There should be a bound between Londonderry and Derry, so. Okay, anyone from the public or any butters to this rezoning? Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I can make a motion that the planning board recommend to the town council that tax map 13, lot 96B be rezoned from AR1 to C2.
Second that?
I have a motion by Dana, second by Lynn for rezoning. Is there any further discussion from the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, shows affirmative. Motion carries, and the recommendation will go to the town council for their process. Yeah, I think the bound is right up across the road, right on the north side. Okay, we're going to go to other business. And Andre is going to give us a overview of visit with Mashpee Commons, and also what we can do if the board so requests. Andre could make a full presentation, probably at a second, Wednesday at the next meeting. Maybe the prelude to anything coming in from Woodmont.
I'll leave that open to the board if you want me to do this. Again, I'll be more than happy to do that. But as I mentioned a couple of meetings ago that or I should say, I think it was the planning board meeting after the APA conference in Boston, I had a chance to attend one of the mobile workshops, which took a look at Mashpee Commons as well as other kind of new urbanist type of developments down in the Cape area. And the packet of information that I handed out to you all was the information that I received from Tom Fudula, who was the town planner for Mashpee Commons, who was kind enough to take us through as well as the vice president of Mashpee Commons, Douglas Storrs, that took us through the development, the history of it, and the things that they're seeking to achieve from the Mashpee Commons. And the Mashpee Commons project was permitted in 1986. And on the board in front of you is the layout. This is Route 151 coming into the Mashpee town and into the rotary section here. And this lower area is the core. This is what was permitted back in 1986. This northern area was permitted in 1993. Together, they have a development potential of 365,000 square feet of commercial office development, about 100 units of residential development, and of which 40 have been built since 1986.
Any idea what the residential density is?
I believe that it is 3.6 units per acre. Actually, if you move forward with this, actually go back one. Go back to the original one. I forgot to say one thing. Right here, this area here and this area, these are two vacant areas here, and Mashpee Commons is slated to expand to a North Market area, North Phase 2, and a East Steeple area over here to the west of the property. If you advance it, Tim, that's what the North Market Phase 2 would look like. It's a combination of commercial right here and mixed-use commercial, these blue squares, and the rest of this is they're orange. You can't really see, the colors don't show up, but this is red here, and that's multifamily, and these are townhouses here. So it's a mixture of, and this area is the original North Market, which is, I believe a Stop and Shop is over there, as well as other retail markets. And this is a transition from other light commercial uses to a mixed-use commercial use to residential townhouses to multifamily.
So they don't have any single-family homes?
They do, not in that portion. And if you advance it, the Steeple area, again, you have your commercial transitioning from the main roadway, commercial transitioning back to townhomes, multifamily development here, and an office also sprinkled within here as well, if you advance it. And this is by the numbers, again, 110 retail tenants, 295,000 square feet of retail, 85,000 in the North Market area. 20% are the commercial tenants are national chains. 80% are more organic to the area. 45,000 square feet of office. 40 residential units have been built to date. And the 100 of additional units are planned. And is a 1-to-1, 1.1 average number of vehicles per residential household there. Oh boy, that's dark. I was wondering if I could maybe turn off the light.
Andre,
What time it
Could
is?
you go back to the main map again for a second?
Sure.
Yes, I can.
Tim?
Whichever. With the other Andre, do. So the area below the, because in the pictometry they've got the dark area, those buildings exist. The
Yes.
area to the left and below that, that's yet to be developed.
Correct.
That's all residential,
Correct.
multifamily,
Yeah.
townhouses type things.
Correct.
But the area that's below that is developed. That looks like to be
Here, I believe those are abutting,
Townhouses and stuff?
abutting residential units over
it's
here.
a separate development.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's mostly developed commercially right now,
It is.
and just a few residential units.
And this is 7 years since the original,
This is, the
No.
original was built in 1986.
86?
And at the end of this, I'll show you an evolution of, yeah, can everybody see that?
Yeah.
You should leave it off for now, all right. Well, actually, this was actually during the afternoon when this is taken, but this area is, I'm standing right in the main, kind of the main square area. You know, obviously, this is a commercial building. The second level has office, some has live-work apartments in there. If you advance the next one. And I'm simply turning in a circle now, and across the street, this is, again, on the bottom, retail. On the top, you have live-work. Some of these are live-work apartments. Some of these are actually second-store office buildings. Next one. Again, I'm just keep on turning counterclockwise, and this is a main street. Actually, if I were to continue down this street, I will hit Route 151, and across the street would be the North Market area that we spoke about earlier. But the distance between the two is about 60 feet. If you advance to the next one, there's a breakdown that you can't see. But this is 60 feet from face to face, and about 22 feet of travel lane, 12-foot sidewalks on both sides, including the trees, and 7-foot lanes for on-street parking, parallel parking. Next one. And
Are those dimensions in the plan?
Yes. Yeah. For the main access ways, those dimensions seem to hold up pretty much all around the development. As you get inside, it's a little bit narrower. This is the post office, and again, I'm traveling, towards Route 151 down that main street that I took a picture down towards. This is the post office here that they located downtown. Again, is made to fit the architectural character of the area. Next one. This is the parking behind the post office. Most of the major parking is usually behind or on the side of this of Mashpee Commons. Next one. Again, this is continuing down the. Actually, this is at the first intersection, and as you come off of Route 151 and you hit a stop sign, this is the first major intersection. Down at the base of this is a pharmacy. I think it's a Walgreens. And again, holding the same dimensions, 22-foot travel lane, 7-foot parking, parallel parking, and 12-foot sidewalk. Again, I just simply turned around, and again, this stop sign, if I take a right, I go to 151 and across to the North Market Street area. And again, these are commercial buildings, and that is all totally occupied by Gap, but some of these have second stories, they have others. Next one. This is going down one of the side streets. They do have the walkways for pedestrians primarily, but there are trucks and cars and delivery vehicles can get down there to service those those businesses. Next one. And this is a plaza. I'm continuing down that same route, and at the end of it is a plaza kind of area. Again, commercial on the bottom here, and office on the top. Next one. Actually, this is actually a cinema. You believe that? A 6-screen cinema. But it was, again, the architectural standards there. You want everything to look the same and have the same ambiance of all the other buildings. Next one. And again, this is a live-work type of thing that's, I guess, yet to be occupied, or was previously occupied, but they moved out. But they got Toy Story down below.
Lighting style is what the Heritage Commission likes.
Yeah, and that's all part of it. And in 2007, 382 units. Again, this is Mashpee Commons here, Route 102. North Market is across the street here. But 382 units were approved just below and connected to Mashpee Commons in 2007. Next one. And again, this is the evolution. 1951, that's what existed there. Mashpee Commons would be here, but this is 151, this is a rotary going, and I think the way the rotary works is that this will take you back to Falmouth, that would take you to Provincetown. And then in 1976, the shopping center, in which Mashpee Commons originally started as a strip shopping center, and then was converted. And I think Andre Duani and his firm was hired in order to take a look at what can be done with that site. But this is what it looked like in 1976. Next one, 1984. You see more development occurring in that area. Next one, 1997. Yeah, you see the connecting road here, and again, this is Route 151, the intersection in Provincetown and Falmouth. And again, this is 2007. And I believe this is the area here that 382 units will be occupying in this area. I think it was approved that year, actually. And that's it. With regard to just a quick snapshot of what I saw in the Mashpee Commons. Again, the Vice President, Douglas Storrs, and again, Tom Fadula, took us through the whole development, and we got a perspective from the developer, a perspective from the town planner as to what went on. Overall, people like it. I mean, you know, that's one of the things that, and this, you got to be mindful of the fact that this was a mobile workshop. There was nothing but planners as part of that workshop, so we were asking everybody who was there. I says, "Oh, do you live here?" "Yeah." I said, "How you like it?" "Oh, we love this place. You know, we love it." And I did not run into one. If somebody said, "Boy, I hated this," I would definitely bring that back to you. But boy, you just couldn't find that person. You know, they liked living there, and we're hoping to get one of the residents that that lived on the second story, one of those live work apartments there. But we can only stand there for so long before they call the police. But Douglas Storrs, you know, the question was asked, like I think one of the questions that we got is that, well, how are you going to take care of snow? And I could see Mr. Storrs pause for a second, and he said, "All right, not to be facetious, but this is New England. This was built in New England, so we were very well aware that snow does happen up here in various months. And this is a private development, which each tenant pays fees. Therefore, it's my responsibility to make sure everything is plowed. And if there's too much snow to be put in embankments, then it's hauled off. It's our best interest, as well as our that of the business community, as well as the living community, to make sure that they can get in and out of there, and that the sidewalks are plowed so people can frequent the stores. So now we take care of snow. Same thing with the trash, and same thing with everything else that we're responsible for. It's they make it happen, and the architectural standards are even with the new section that's being proposed are going to be adhered to it. And you'll see in your packets they do have an architectural code section associated with those sections, that how they're supposed to be, and they're encouraged. It's not mandatory, but they're encouraged to follow those guidelines. And traffic, you know, again, they deal with traffic the same way we deal with traffic. As I do got to clarify with the town planner down there as to how are they handling their traffic in relation to the concept plan and the ultimate amendment to their master plan. I want to get clarification on that, but thereafter, as new site plans come in, again, they have the same traffic studies and so on and so forth. Sewer is a particular hot button down there because they're in the Cape and they have a lot of water treatment, and their resources for sewer and water are less abundant than it is up here. So they have to be very critical how they address sewer and water down there. But it is addressed, and it is done in such a way that it doesn't overcapacitate their treatment plants. Or
so they don't have problems like just normal water runoff with all the paved surfaces and everything?
Right. No, they deal with it much the same that we do. You know. So in a nutshell, that's what happened.
I'm just curious, in your front picture, I don't see any parking meters. Was it pretty much free on-street parking along here?
It was.
Yeah.
First time I went down there, I expected to see, as a matter of fact, my family, we were going down there camping, and I'm tooling along, and then I noticed that was Mashpee Commons, so I pulled my camper and my truck in there and parked in the Citizens Bank parking lot, and noticed that there was not one meter throughout the whole place. So I'm guessing that since these are all private roads, then they want to encourage people to come there, as opposed to if they were public roads, then there probably might have been meters there.
I hope to get down there on Sunday, take a look at it myself.
I would encourage anybody, if you're going to be in that area, to stop by there because it's very nice. It's nicely laid out, it works well. The fact that only 20% of the business is there from national chains, everything else is organic, meaning that it's germane to the area. You know, the local, you know, the local bead maker, the local dressmaker, you name it, they're in there.
Andre, you mentioned master plan. Is that Mashpee Town's master plan or a master plan for this development?
The master plan for the development. If you remember the first.
So they do have a master plan. Is that something we've got hold of?
Most of it is in here, at least the new sections of the master plan is here, is in here, but,
It's some stuff I know on their website.
yeah, some stuff,
Yeah.
I think you can almost get this off the website, but this is a little bit more expansive, actually, this is more expansive than what you get off the website, because, on the website, they have some pictures on there, but, and some concepts of where they want to do, but this gets a little bit more into depth as to how they want to
I
plan.
think that would be very useful for us to review and look at,
Yeah.
to compare against what we get proposed.
You also have to caution that there's different enabling and zoning and different regulations that they're working under than what we're working under
I'm
here.
talking more about like the general content.
Actual land use.
What they provided in there, like land use maps and what
Street
they got
widths
that they had for detail for, you know, were their guidelines, were their requirements and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, and,
The
and some of
road
that you'll find.
specifications you just showed us
Yeah.
too.
Andre, was there any discussion on the tax impact of the development to the town tax rate?
Yeah, actually, one of the planners asked that, and, right, and I forgot the exact number, to be honest with you, what they pay, but it is tax positive, because again, it's 365,000 square feet of retail and office, and only 40 units of residential. So, you know, I'm not sure, I know that Massachusetts tax structure is a little bit different from New Hampshire, meaning that they have sales income and things of that sort, but I'd be hard pressed to think that that's tax negative. But again, that's one of the questions I can
Especially
ask.
at this stage of the build-out where there's.
That's a very good point. And do you know what their proposed residential build-out, if that's gonna, or if they're gonna have private roads as well, private trash, or do you know if that's been discussed at all?
No, it hasn't, because the core area is all private, but whether or not the residential section will remain private, I'm not sure, but I can get clarity on that one.
Mary?
No, I'm still just trying to see. It doesn't look as though anything that's come in so far, though, has been single-family. Everything has been either above the things or multifamily, right?
Correct. Other than 100 units that were originally approved, only 40 of which have been built, and they're all been apartment-type dwellings. And that 382 units that were approved in 2007, some of those have single-family housing towards the western section, but as it transitions, the dwellings close to Mashpee Commons are mostly townhouses, apartment, but as you transition away, it becomes single-family.
Yeah, there was a local newspaper article that
It's in the read file.
Read
Yeah,
file.
yeah.
It was back from February, and it was interviewed people around there. They were very positive about it. I think they interviewed, I think it was Tom Fadala and
Yep.
some of the other people in the governmental structure down there.
From the
All very positive.
From the conceptual map too that you had in here, seems to be a fair amount of green space around it.
Yeah.
Included both in the residential and in surrounding the actual commons itself, the current development. Do you know what that is as a percentage of the overall? 'Cause it looks pretty
Yeah.
significant amount of green space around it.
Yeah, Tim, I don't know if you can bring that up again, but the second map there.
Yeah, that one.
I just know that. Let me see. I just want to make sure I get my bearings right here. Yeah, right here is the new library that they built, and I know across here is a common area.
Yeah, and then all around the.
Yeah, and I believe that, we did walk this area, which is this pure common, and the question that came up said, well, will anything be put there, like benches or whatever? I said, well, it's just all green. And I said, well, people just kind of like it the way it is, and I'm sure that, you know, if something comes up that, that people want things there, then, you know, can put those there, but that is also green here.
And so surrounding the central piece too, around and down to the lower right of it is, looks like it's green space as well.
You mean around here?
And there and that.
Oh, yeah, that is, yeah. It actually is nicely landscaped around here, and as you come in, see, the main corridor right here
Yeah.
is nicely landscaped.
Anything else? Would the board like to have Andre, like do a part more of a formal presentation, and we could have it as agenda items, so we'd have all audience members also. Would the board be agreeable to that? Sure.
Now, would you want that in August or September, or?
We could do maybe August.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what Tim was saying, probably September, October
Right
timeframe.
now, the only thing we'd have for August 10th would be the Varani project, which may actually end up getting continued out further than that, based on when we're going to be able to do the sidewalk out there.
Yeah, August.
Yeah, because the only concern I've had is that if we want to get the maximum amount of appeal for people, if they have questions about maybe the September date, and I'm not trying to push it out, but I know there's not a lot of people vacation in August, that's all.
Yeah,
It's that I
that's
just don't
true.
want them to, if they do have specific questions with regard to Mashpee or whatever, and between now and then, anyways, I'm going to prepare as if August is the date, and I'm going to give the planner a call down there just to fill in some of the questions that you had for me, but,
Right, if it'd be
you know,
possible, I don't know if you'd ever want to travel up here to talk with us at all.
I'll ask the question, you know.
Yeah.
It's
It doesn't hurt
it's a
to
good
ask
haul,
anyway,
Yeah, it's a good haul, but I'll ask the question.
Yeah, would September be better? Would the board think September would be better?
More people will be around.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, September.
Okay.
Or be the
Cross that
second
off.
Wednesday in September. Okay, any other business for us to do? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn from Dana. Second by Lynn. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. And